Hey guys, so welcome to our how to do the anniversary event that gives you the Obsidian Worldbreaker. This one was actually pretty simple. My unedited time frame on the stream, because that's where I'm pulling this from, it's all on stream, so if you want to watch the unedited version, it's in there. But the unedited version for this part only equaled like an hour and a half. So we really were not in there long at all. You don't even fight the bosses fully, which was a lot less than what I expected. I thought for sure these were full fights. So I was expecting it to kind of be like a wing of, say, LFR, right? It technically is like an LFR wing, but even easier than LFR wings are, because you don't fight the whole boss, so you're not there fighting a boss for like 10 minutes, you know? Okay, so to queue up for this, you just head out to the Caverns of Time. You will see Chromie, which is right in this area. Just look for a lot of people. Chances are you'll spot her. And that is where you queue up for the raids. You'll queue them like an LFR. I queued all three, which of course led to our group doing them in a really whacked out order. If I remember, we did the last one first, which would have been the one with Rag. And then Archimon was last. So very much out of order, because Archimon is actually first, Lich King is second, and Rag is last. So I'm gonna like, as I'm editing this video, I'm cutting the pieces to put it actually in order. So you are gonna see the proper order. It's just not the order we did it in, but like, you can't really tell. Like, there's nothing special that happens during it or anything like that. Okay, so even although we did a whacked out order, I am gonna show you these fights in proper order. So we'll be starting with Burning Crusade, then we'll do Lich King, and then Cataclysm last. So let's go. Now, one thing that I almost forgot to add here, and I will add right now before we get into the boss fights and stuff, is that you do have to be 380 item level at minimum to queue for these things. So definitely pick a character that is at least that, and if you aren't that, it's really easy to get that item level right now. All you really gotta do is just unlock Najtar, go out there, do enough stuff to accumulate enough currency to buy some benthic gear. It only costs like 5 pearls, and yeah, and that's pretty much it. I have decked out like all my alts, and I like next to never go out to Najtar, but I've decked them all out in benthic gear because it's so easy to buy that shit. So yeah, just wanted to let you guys know that before we start here. Okay, so Lady Vash, she's really easy. Back in the day, you had to go after the Tainted Elemental. I did not see anyone even doing that for this fight, so I believe she's just tank and spank. But just in case that is how it's done, and I just didn't notice it because it just went, she got dead like so fast. So if that is, you know, what needs to be done and I just didn't notice it while I was in this battle, basically what you do is you go after the Tainted Elemental. There's a Tainted Core, you loot it. The reason I don't think that it's a thing is because of the loot system, right? Because back then you had to have it on like free for all in order to even loot the item. So I'm pretty sure that alone makes this not applied to the fight, but just thought I'd mention it anyway. And then when you get it, you click a nearby pillar, and that basically deactivates it, and you have to do that 3 times. But from what I saw, you can just tank and spank pretty much. Okay, so next up is Sunstrider. For this one, there is 4 ads out there. You must kill them before you can even fight Kilthas. And the Darkener will silence players. The Master Engineer has a toy that's, kind of annoying. And the Grand Astromancer disorientates players. And Lord Sanguinar, or however his name is said, fears players. So definitely they all have very much annoying abilities. Once you've defeated them, you can start taking down Kilthas. There's also the weapons that you need to defeat. You can equip them. I just don't bother anymore because, it's been a while since I've been in this place anyway because I'm done farming them out. But it just was always kind of useless, except for when it was current expansion. But you can. They're legendary weapons. You do not get to keep them. It's just for the battle. And then in his final phase, you'll be moving around. If you've never done this battle before, you can fly your body back down to the ground. You're not stuck in the air. And one thing I would like to mention is that you can loot the Ashes of Alar. So this event is an ability to loot mounts that are, not normally available as a second try every week. And I chose not to mention it in the beginning because I'm going to mention it as I'm talking about the boss, and this is one of them. So Ashes of Alar does drop off of this boss. You have a chance at that, which gives you 2 chances for each week. Okay, so the last one for this particular wing, for the Memories of Fel Burning Crusade, will be Archimond. He was the final boss in the Burning Crusade raid. So this fight is pretty basic and nothing too bad in it. Fire damage is a big thing in this boss fight, so just steer clear of fire. Typically what I was doing is just before I knew he was going to do the fear ability, I would kind of place my character in a direction that fire isn't, and that's where I would get feared. So that kind of worked out for me. And speaking of the fear ability, it is a big part of this fight as well, and it is very frequent. You will get feared for 5 seconds, and the fear occurs every 30 seconds until he's dead. So it can be very annoying, but it can also be very easy to predict since you know it's happening every 30 seconds. Also, the Tears of the Goddess that you see on my screen, it's the blue icon. That becomes part of your fight as well. Basically, that is to negate fall damage. He will throw any player, it's very random. He'll throw a player in the air, and basically the only way to not take a huge amount of damage is by clicking that. So chances are the people dead in the fight right now probably didn't use the ability, other than Hops, because Hops is he was part of our team and he did a BRB right after the last boss. So So he was quick, but he wasn't quick enough. So he ended up dying by just standing in fire. but the rest, my guess is that they probably got thrown and they didn't hit that that action. And that is basically it for this, and that completes the Memories of Fel Burning Crusade wing. So at the end of the LFR, when you pass it, you will see a treasure chest appear on the ground. That is where you have your chance of loot, which can be 420 or higher. There has been people that have gone 445 because it's Titan forged, but 420 is the minimum. So you can get some loot out of here. And you would have the mount if it dropped, it would drop in there. Also, just to kind of show off a couple of notable items that are in this wing. One is the mount, of course, the Ashes of Alar. And the other being the Nexus Key. Both are dropped off of Sunstrider. Another very cool looking one is the Cataclysm's Edge. This is a sword, and this one drops off of Archimonde. However, technically for this particular event, it doesn't matter who they drop off of because the loot comes at the end off of all three of them. But, just in case you decide that, hey, I'm going to start farming that every week for that transmog. That's where it comes from. Okay, so now we are on Memories of Frost, Wrath of the Lich King. This is the second queue that you will do for this event. I found this wing to actually be the easiest, which is weird because I thought it would be one of the toughest because I was thinking of all the mechanics that used to be in Lich King, right? And Lich King turned out to be the easiest boss out of all 9 of them. I felt like I could almost just do that one with my eyes shut. There was next to nothing for him, which was so surprising to me. But anyway, let's get to it. Okay, so in this one, you start out with Hagen the Unclean. This guy is honestly the toughest one of all 3. The fight itself isn't tough. You just need the whole team following. It's best to just do what we did here. Have one person marked that really knows what they're doing. It's really not that hard to know what you're doing. You just gotta take a couple of steps, stop. Take a couple of steps, stop. But it's always best to just mark someone anyway. That way, if there are people in the group that don't know, they just keep up. When I say keep up, that means stack right on that guy because he's going to be going a little ahead of what can basically one-shot kill you. So you're wanting to avoid this green. So yeah, basically if you can do that, you can do the fight. Do not stop an attack in between. The times are too short. If you can throw dots on like I was as a druid here, that's fine. If you're able to attack while on the move, that is fine. But to stop and cast a spell, you just won't have time. And even if you do, chances are you're dead right after. So I would just avoid it and just wait for this phase to end and then just attack when he comes back out. Because at this point, he's not actually attacking you or anything. You're just having to avoid this damage. And that is basically all there is to it. Many of you guys may remember this one. This one was an achievement called the Safety Dance, which is why everyone refers to it as that. And the achievement was to do this without anyone dying. if you want to go after the achievement, it's very easy to get. If you go into the level 80 version, a lot of people don't even, like people that came in later on into the game, they don't even realize that this is the actual achievement, because now, since you one-shot them, technically you don't die, so you just get the safety dance. So yeah, it's like, I guess it's cool, but then at the same time, you don't know what the safety dance actually is when they're just issuing it on a one-shot kill. So here you go. This is the safety dance. And also, if you do choose to go do the achievement, it's for those that don't know where this boss actually comes from. He is in Nax, and he will be the second boss in the Plague Quarter. Okay, next up is Anubarak. He's from the Trial of the Crusader raid, and this one's pretty self-explanatory, so it's pretty easy. Basically, the DPS, you just shoot down the frost orbs. The tanks will have, you'll be tanking the ads onto these frost patches. And then he will bury himself, target a player, and he'll charge at them. Just don't be in that line of fire. And then, of course, ads. So always kill ads, and yeah, that's basically the fight. It's really not that hard. And just disregard the shoutouts you see during this fight. I was actually laughing my ass off this entire fight because the leader was giving out a guide for Lich King. And, like, yeah, it's great to do that, but do that on the boss when we're on that boss. You know, like, no one's reading chat, and even if they are, they're gonna think, like, if they're new, they're gonna think you're talking about this fight. And yeah, so I was just, like, laughing my ass off because there's one or the other. One, they're not reading it because they're too busy fighting this guy, or they think you're talking about this guy. So yeah, I just thought that was hilarious. So disregard that. Everything that you saw shouted out, it's actually for the Lich King. You know, they were just, you know, doing it early, which I guess means they weren't fighting, so they're probably the dead person. I don't know. But, and I thought it was even more hilarious after we killed the Lich King, because then I realized, why did you waste your time doing that when you could be fighting, when the Lich King turned out to be easier than both of these guys put together? Like, yeah, it was so funny. But anyway, next. And the final one for this wing will be the Lich King. And he is not that hard because you don't do enough of the fight to really see what most of the fight was back in the day. So one of the reasons I always loved this fight is for something that you guys don't actually see when you're doing this fight in the event. And it is that, you know, back in current, at the end of the fight, we would all get killed. And it was always a big thing. You'd always see in chat, don't release, don't release, don't release. And that's because you would get released by the game. So you would think you were dead, and then all of a sudden your whole team gets resurrected and you finish off the battle. And I just always thought that that was such a cool way to end the fight. And another thing that was cool for it as well is when you were progressing as a team back then, you knew you had it at that point. Like, at that point, if you saw the whole team die, and it wasn't because of a wipe, it was because of that certain phase, and they all got resurrected again, you knew you had it. At that point, it was like, not much left to down him. So that was also a cool thing. However, you don't see that in this, so let's go over what you will see. What you will see is the Valkyr takes you off the edge. Basically, you just gotta kill her as fast as possible, and she'll drop the player. Just make sure you get it done before they get to the edge. When that drop happens, it is a cliff, so I think it's safe to say that that's a dead. Like, there's no coming back. And when I say dead, I really mean dead. I know there's battle resers in the group. You cannot be battle resed when you die that way, because you're not dying on the platform. So, yeah, when I say if you end up getting dropped off and you're dead, that really does mean that no one can bring you back. So, definitely, let's, definitely try to save the important people. You want to save everyone, but you definitely do not want to lose, like, healers from that. The Defile, very important to dodge that. However, they went real easy mode on Defile for this one. I felt like I could practically film my vape while I was running from it, Like, I could really multitask while it was trying to get me. So Defile isn't actually a worry for this one. And then, of course, there's the phase of where you run into the center. Just make sure you do that. You'll know it. The platform will start breaking, so it's pretty obvious. And that is basically it. So that concludes that wing. Once again, you can get a mount from this boss. It is the Invincible Reigns. I will show it off here. And so you have 2 tries each week until the end of this event to get the Invincible Reigns as well. Okay, so now for the final wing, which is Memories of Fire Cataclysm. You will start with Cho'Gall, who is the final boss in Bastion of Twilight. And not much to him, really. Basically, you'll see a bar on the screen. As you get some points in it, you receive random debuffs. And it's very much a corruption thing, because it will have you going insane if it gets to full, and gives you like 100% less healing, and you will receive 100% increased damage, so not a fun debuff. So there is that. The coverts need to be interrupted, and also at 25%, Cho'Gall will get more corrupted, summoning tentacles, which makes the room, dark and... But yeah, so he just, he wasn't too bad. Yeah, he's more or less a tank and spank. Like, I didn't see any huge problems. Like, maybe you'll wipe once or twice, but you'll get him. Next up is Nefarian. Nefarian is the final boss in Blackwing Descent from Cataclysm. He's also the final boss in Blackwing Lair. Now, this one was extremely easy, so all you do is run to the platform as soon as you get into this phase, get on the platform, and just start shooting them. Like, yeah, I felt like there were no mechanics whatsoever with this one, other than, like, I guess if you're gonna call hopping on a platform a mechanic, but yeah, that's just more common sense than a mechanic, but whatever. But yeah, this one was extremely easy. Yeah. Okay, and the final boss here is Reg, of course, who is the final boss of the Cataclysm raid, Firelands, and of course we all know him from the vanilla raid, Molten Core. And he is pretty easy as long as you follow the mechanics. Mechanics are important for him. So basically, you want to run to the other side with your team when it starts up, avoid the bombs. So yeah, overall, it's just avoid as much damage as you possibly can. You do want to get the ads down at this part too, and then you're good to go. And that concludes that wing. So that is all 3 wings done, and you are now done with your anniversary achievements. And now you just loot, and the anniversary mount will just automatically be attached to your account. So you don't need to learn it. It's already learned. Just look it up in your mount collection. And once again, before we end this part, you can also get the mount from Rag. That loot will be dropped as the Smoldering Egg. When you learn that, it will turn your mount into the Pure Blood Firehawk mount. And also, upon completing any of these, you can also have a chance at getting this mount as well. This is the Infinite Time Reaver. The usual or the normal way to obtain this mount is by time walking. So this is a great time to try to get this mount. This is the only one I need out of all the ones that can drop. I do mount farming like every week, and I have for like 10 years or something like that. So when it comes to most mounts, I have most that drop out of raids and stuff, just because I make it such a regular thing every week. But the Infinite Time Reaver is still one that I'm going after because of only being able to try for it during time walking. I would highly suggest maybe while it's here, do it. At first I wasn't gonna, because at first I was under the impression that it would take a while, but we did all 3 of those wings within an hour, and there were some flops because, just because there were, right? So that is not long at all with it not going perfectly. So I would highly suggest going after this one, because like I said, normally you can only get out of time walking, which means normally you can't farm this mount all the time. You have to wait for time walking. And I don't know about you, but for me, generally once I'm done the weekly quest, I just don't bother. So that's, that much less attempts at it. Okay, and here's a screenshot I took of myself and my guildies that joined me in doing that. So we are all on our Obsidian Worldbreaker mounts. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Hope it helps you out. And I will have some more videos for you. I am going to post the daily quest video right after this one, because they kind of tie in together. And then tomorrow I will have the PvP video for you, because there's also another mount you can get during the event. And for those unaware of the dates, that this runs till. It is January 7th, so you have quite a while. I'm so glad to be done with it, but you don't have to rush it. And yeah, that's it. So we will see you in the next video. Bye, guys.